Hello everyone, welcome back to Missy Mondays, and this week's video is going to be on how to help a nervous rabbit. So most of you may know that when Missy came to me, she was a very nervous and anxious rabbit. She didn't have a very good past, unfortunately. She was a rescue. So I'm going to be showing you guys how I got her like this and very comfortable with me. Hi! It took about a year and a half to get Missy to be this comfortable with me, and she is free roam the whole time, so I did as most as I can, but it did take a year and a half. It takes a long time with these things, and unfortunately for Missy, she was very nervous. So it may be different for your bunny. Every rabbit's different, so some of these things may not work for your bunny, and some of them might. So the first thing that I want to talk about is free roaming. So free roaming is basically where you don't have your rabbit in a cage. I don't really like to use the term free roaming, as I think it kind of contradicts itself, because free roaming means not in a cage. However, if your rabbit is in a room the same size as a cage and it's only free roam in that room, then it's still considered free roaming, even though it's the same amount of space, if you get what I mean. But anyways, free roaming has been amazing for both Missy and my previous rabbit, Snowflake. He was not a rescue, but he was a very nervous rabbit. Compared to some other bunnies, he was quite an anxious and nervous rabbit. So free roaming like completely changed him, and it's completely changed Missy. I think free roaming is a big thing because you're sharing a space with your rabbit, and they get to just get used to your kind of daily life, and you're in their space. And I think you sharing a space with your rabbit is such an important thing. And I understand that free roaming may not be possible. A large X-pen in your house would be the next best thing, I think. X-pens provide a lot of room for your rabbit, and can even be the same as a room. Like, X-pens can be massive, and can even be sometimes even better than a room because they're bigger. This can be a great way, and you're still kind of sharing a space with your rabbit. So yeah, I definitely recommend free roaming if you can and where possible, because it just kind of serves itself. You don't really need to do anything with free roaming, just go on about your daily life and your rabbit will get used to it and get used to you at the same time. One thing I do want to mention though is, before you do this, please consider a couple things, because rabbits are very destructive animals, as you may know. I've posted on here a couple times about the destructive nature of rabbits, and specifically Missy. Snowflake was not at all like that, so it just depends on your rabbit. So the next thing that I want to talk about is stuff like hoovers. So hoovers, as you know, rabbits are very messy creatures, and so a hoover is definitely a necessity when owning a rabbit. And hoovers can be usually really noisy and quite scary for rabbits. So I'm going to talk about how I got Missy used to my hoover, because using a hoover was a big thing that I knew she needed to get used to. The first thing that I did was, whenever I would switch on my hoover, I would give her a treat. So before I even switch it on, I'd give her a treat, and then I switch my hoover, do what I need to do, and then when I turn it off, I give her another treat. So I did that. I used like banana, things like that. Missy's favourite food is banana, so that worked out perfectly. And that's what I did. And within a couple times, she got used to it. If your rabbit is still really scared, then maybe you can feed them treats throughout. Just get them used to maybe the noise of the hoover first, and then move on to kind of the motion of actually using the hoover. Because Missy was mainly scared of the motion of me using the hoover more than the noise itself. But it really depends on your rabbit. Also, I recommend that if you have a home base, or really if they're just free roam, you're going to want to make sure that they're out of that space when you're using the hoover. I still do that to this day. So Missy has a home base, as most of you guys know. I'll put a picture up onto the screen. She has a home base, and this is basically just made of CNC grids. The door's always open, but this is the space that I've dedicated for her to go whenever she gets scared, and I never go in there when she's in there. So I'll get a treat, coax her out of there, and then I'll just give her a bunch of treats to chew on, or an enrichment feeder, whilst I hoover that area. I think you shouldn't really be hoovering their space when they're in it, because that's kind of their safe space, and although you want your rabbit to get used to the hoover, they may not be able to get out very easily of the space if they get scared. So still to this day with Missy, that's her space. I never use the hoover in there when she's in there. And so yeah, I just wouldn't use the hoover in their safe space, or if they have like an X-pen or something, just make sure that they're doing something else on the other side of the room whilst you are hoovering. That's just what has kind of helped Missy. Of course, she's not really scared of it anymore, but I just thought it was a quick thing to mention. So the next thing I want to talk about is food. Rabbits, everybody knows that a way to a rabbit's heart is food, and food can be a really helpful tool for getting a rabbit to like you. So if they know that you provide food, they're gonna love you. It might take some time for some rabbits, but with Missy, again, that was a big thing. Food was a big thing. And so one of the things that you can do is whenever you feed your rabbit, just sit next to them or sit on the floor, just be close to them. And this can, especially with really, really nervous rabbits where they won't eat out of your hand or anything like that, this can be a really good starting point. So if you just, whenever you feed them, just sit on the floor, maybe watch something on your phone, something like that, and just sit near them and slowly get closer and closer and closer until you're practically sitting next to them. And then once your rabbit's used to that, maybe you can try hand feeding. The next thing I want to mention is tricks. So this has been a really, really good way for me to bond with Missy, because again, it does use food, because by teaching them, it just seems to create a bond, and it's something that you two can do together. So you can even use your own body to do tricks. So I get Missy to kind of walk in and out of my legs. You can get them to jump over your arm. Are amazing for bonding with your rabbit because it can get them used to you moving. It's also great for rabbits with high energy, and by getting them tired, it can get them a bit more relaxed. So the next thing I want to talk about is creating a safe space. So I talked about this in one of the other, I've talked about this in a couple of my other videos, but Missy has a CNC grid kind of cage that I've made for her. And this has been there ever since I brought her home. And then the first couple of days I actually kept her in there just to get her used to the cage at the start, because it was a new time, it was like chaotic, and I was like, I'm just gonna keep her in the cage for the first couple of days just to get her used to the area, and then I'll let her out for free roaming. I never hoover her safe space when she's in there. I get her busy with something else and then I hoover it, and I still do that to this day. Even though she'd be fine if I did it, I still do it just because that safe space for her is just so important, that when other people come into my room, I never go in there and they never go in there. It's like a big rule, I never go into her safe space when she's in there. It's only when she's out there that I'll clean it and do stuff in there, and I still keep that as a rule today because I just want a space for her where she knows she can go in it and nobody's gonna touch her. And the next topic is why you should always make sure that your rabbit comes to you. So again, like all the other ones, your rabbit's not going to get used to you if you're going up to it, picking it up, going over to it, trying to stroke it, all that things. It's not going to work. It's just going to make your rabbit even worse. Missy is a great example of that, but Missy's a perfect example of that. She was picked up a lot in our old home because, like I say, she's very, very cute. And unfortunately that led to her being absolutely terrified because she was being grabbed out of her hutch. I think it was hutch that she was in, unfortunately, but I think she was just being grabbed, picked up by like kids and stuff, and it wasn't good, and that actually caused her to be extremely nervous. Yeah, so Missy is just a perfect example of why you do not grab rabbits before they get comfortable with you. You've always got to let them come to you. Okay, now the last thing I want to mention is please don't feel discouraged. I know that I did for a lot of the time which I was bonding Missy. It did pretty much take a year for Missy to just even let me stroke her for like a couple seconds. Like it did take a long time with Missy. It may be different with your rabbit, but it did take a long time, and I felt really discouraged throughout a lot of it. I thought I'm just never going to be able to get her comfortable with me, but it does happen, and let me tell you, it is so worth it once you do it. It's the most rewarding feeling ever. Once you see your rabbit getting comfortable, flopping, all those things, it is so rewarding and it is so worth it. So stroking your rabbit can be a great way to bond with your rabbit, and I've certainly found that with Missy. So again, she's down here. Oh, there you go. See her. She's gonna jump to the windowsill. Yeah, her favourite spot is behind me. But a great way to bond with your rabbit is to stroke them, and it can take so long for your rabbit to get used to you stroking it like it did with Missy. But one of the ways that I found really helps is and your rabbit may not be used to this, but you just kind of got to start it, is when you sit down with them, grab a treat, and then just stroke them and instantly give them a treat, and just do this over and over and over and over again. You can even use a clicker trainer, so when you stroke them and maybe they don't move away or something like that, you can click the clicker and then quickly give them a treat. I think this is really good because it helped Missy so much. I did that for like a couple weeks straight every day. I just sat down for like 10 minutes is all it needed, and I just stroked her, gave her a treat, stroked her, gave her a treat, and she became so much more comfortable with me stroking her because she associated it with something positive, like a treat, and not me going and grabbing her or anything like that. Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to mention is that although at the start when you get a new rabbit home, yes, try and be as quiet as possible, try not make so much noise, try not do so many things around it, but over time your rabbit has just got to get used to it. And at the start with Missy, I was like picking up hay off the floor instead of using my Hoover because I was scared that I was going to scare her. And yes, it did scare her, but you need to carry on with your daily life. Your life cannot completely evolve around your rabbit, unfortunately, because you know, you still gotta, like, you know, use the TV, you still gotta play music, you know, you still gotta do all those things, and your rabbit will adapt to your lifestyle. Although they may be scared, you have got to carry on with your daily life, and your rabbit will adapt to it.